Before you came into my life, I was moving through the world in a way that revolved almost entirely around myself. I had built walls so high and so thick that even I could barely see over them. I told myself those barriers were protection, proof that I was strong, independent, and untouchable. In truth, they kept me isolated. I pushed away genuine connection without even realizing I was doing it, convinced that emotional distance was the same as emotional safety. My ego quietly took the lead, whispering that I didn't need anyone else, that relying on someone would make me weak, that letting someone close meant giving them the power to hurt me. I wrapped myself in a pride that felt like confidence, but it was only a fragile illusion. Holding that facade together became exhausting. I kept people at arm's length, especially those who challenged me, because I didn't want to confront the uncomfortable truths they exposed. I didn't want to admit that I was afraid of vulnerability, afraid of intimacy, afraid of being truly seen. Then you appeared, and the direction of my life shifted so subtly at first that I didn't realize what was happening. Only later did I understand how powerful your presence was. You didn't force your way in or try to change me. You didn't lecture, criticize, or attempt to prove anything. Instead, you carried a quiet strength that drew me in, a strength that didn't need to announce itself. There was warmth in you, a kind of steady authenticity that made me question the version of myself I had been clinging to for so long. Being around you made me pause, reflect, and reconsider everything I thought I understood about connection and closeness. I caught glimpses of a way of living that felt softer, more open, more genuine. It was a way I had forgotten, or perhaps one I had never fully learned in the first place. As I spent more time with you, I realized how much energy I had wasted maintaining the facade of superiority and self-reliance. My ego had been acting as both shield and prison, convincing me I was above needing anyone. But in your presence, that illusion lost its power. You didn't break me down the way I feared others would. Instead, you helped me see myself with clarity, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes painful, but always honest. You showed me that I had been holding myself back far more than anyone else ever had. The surprising part was that you stayed. Others had walked away when I kept my defenses up, but you remained, not out of obligation but because something in you recognized something in me. And while my ego felt bruised by the realization that I wasn't as self-sufficient as I pretended to be, my soul began to heal just by being near you. You revealed something I had never fully grasped before: true strength doesn't come from isolation or pride. It comes from vulnerability, from the courage to let someone close enough to matter, close enough to see the real you. That understanding changed me. It softened me in ways I hadn't known I needed. It opened up a longing within me, a deep, almost overwhelming desire for you, for us, for something real and lasting. I feel it in every part of me, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I want your presence not as a fleeting comfort but as something enduring. I want to close the distance that has grown between us and rebuild what we once had, but this time with intention, honesty, and maturity. I'm not searching for friendship alone. I want something deeper, something meaningful, something that resonates beyond the surface. Over time, I've been doing the work, untangling old wounds, confronting patterns I used to ignore, and acknowledging the emotional baggage I carried with me. I've come to understand how those unresolved pieces affected you, how they shaped the way I treated connection and intimacy. I know that the person I used to be cannot build something lasting with you. If we're going to create something strong, I must approach you with transparency, humility, and a heart that's finally open instead of guarded. I want to become the best version of myself, not for perfection's sake, but to be someone capable of loving you in the way you deserve. I don't expect you to forget the past or overlook the ways I fell short. I simply hope you'll be open to giving us another chance. I believe we can build something beautiful, a connection rooted in respect, understanding, honesty, and genuine affection. I am willing to put in the effort, to show up consistently, to choose growth even when it's uncomfortable, because you've shown me what real partnership can look like. You've shown me what it feels like to be inspired by someone not through pressure, but through their presence alone. What I hadn't fully admitted until now is that you have been a mirror in my life, reflecting truths I didn't know I needed to see. Being with you forced me to confront parts of myself I had avoided for years, my insecurities, my pride, my fear of vulnerability, my tendency to hide behind detachment. You revealed my blind spots without ever trying to. You simply existed in a way that brought those truths to light. And instead of running, as I once would have, I started to embrace what I saw. I realized that the discomfort was actually growth, that my soul had been craving this kind of awakening long before I recognized it. You never insisted that I change. You never demanded more of me than I could give. Yet somehow, through your patience, your authenticity, and your quiet strength, you inspired me to see who I could become. You reminded me that closeness doesn't have to be frightening, that connection doesn't always lead to pain, and that vulnerability can be a bridge rather than a wound. You became the catalyst for a kind of transformation I didn't know I needed but can no longer ignore. I want you to understand how deeply this realization has affected me. Everything I've learned, everything I've grown through, has led me to a single truth: I want you in my life in a real, grounded, intentional way. Not as a fleeting chapter, not as a memory, but as someone I can build something meaningful with. I don't want to approach you with ego or pretense anymore. I want to approach you with clarity, sincerity, and a heart that is willing to be seen fully. I want to show you, not just tell you, that what we had can become something even stronger, deeper, and more fulfilling than before. You helped me rediscover myself. You helped me see who I was, who I am, and who I want to be. And for that, I am more grateful than I can fully express. Life plays many different games with us, shaping our days and our emotions in ways we rarely anticipate. At moments it makes us laugh with an ease that feels effortless, lifting our spirits so high that we believe we are the happiest people alive. At other times, it places us in a darkness that feels heavy and isolating, leaving us lonely, sad, and unsure of what steps to take next. There are days when life fills us with confidence, and days when it leaves us helpless and clueless, wondering why everything around us seems to fall apart. Yet in all these shifts, we tend to create simple explanations for complex experiences. When life feels generous, we proudly claim the success as the result of our hard work and patience. When life feels harsh, we direct our frustration upward toward the Almighty, insisting that perhaps good things simply were never meant for us. This reaction has become so familiar that we hardly notice it. Blaming the Creator is easy because He does not appear before us to deny the accusations or correct our assumptions. In that silence, we construct our own narratives. We rarely pause to examine our own actions, choices, or habits, many of which contribute directly to the very difficulties we face. Instead, it becomes almost instinctive to shift responsibility onto someone or something else. We often behave as though accountability is an unbearable weight when placed on our own shoulders but an acceptable burden when placed on the shoulders of others. I do not mention this to criticize or accuse anyone in particular. I speak from observation, of myself, first and foremost, and of the people around me who, like all humans, are learning their way through life. Recently, I have tried to correct this pattern in myself. I have tried to reflect on my actions before pointing fingers, recognizing that self-examination is far more productive than blame. We humans are quick to find fault in others, often within seconds, yet when we turn inward, we become blind to our own missteps. A mistake committed by someone else appears obvious. A mistake committed by ourselves is rationalized, minimized, or ignored. No human being is perfect. Every person is flawed, and everyone makes mistakes. The difference lies in what we do afterward. Those who acknowledge their errors grow wiser and stronger, while those who avoid recognition find themselves repeating the same mistakes again and again. The situations we face in life, whether pleasant or painful, frequently arise from our own karma, our past actions, and the choices we make each day. It is tempting to attribute misfortune to fate or to God, but doing so only distances us from the truth of our own role in shaping our lives. Although it may feel bitter to admit, much of what we experience is a reflection of what we have created. Despite this, God continues to offer guidance and care. Many people find that even in silence, even in difficulty, there are signs of support, love, and direction woven into daily life. Yet we still become angry at Him, blaming Him for the consequences of decisions we made freely. If we can be so quick to blame the divine, whom we cannot see, imagine how readily we blame the people around us. We often expect others to understand our needs, fulfill our expectations, and behave according to our desires, forgetting that every person carries their own weight, their own struggles, their own journey. The truth is simple: each individual is responsible for their own happiness. No one else carries an obligation to create it or preserve it for us. Still, we allow ourselves to feel disappointed and upset when others fail to behave the way we want them to, as though they exist to satisfy our emotional needs. Life itself is not inherently good or bad. It is shaped by our choices, our mindset, and our willingness to grow. If we began to thank God for the things He does for us, no matter how small, and if we made a consistent effort to reflect honestly on our own actions, life would appear far more beautiful and far more manageable. As I continue along this path of self-discovery, I cannot help but revisit my past with a clearer understanding. Actions that once felt justifiable now appear misguided. Choices that once seemed reasonable now seem rooted in fear, immaturity, or impatience. In this clearer light, I see the mistakes I made, mistakes that affected others, especially you. I acknowledge that I hurt you, and that my actions caused you pain. Ghosting and running away when challenges arose did not protect me. Instead, they left wounds for both of us. At the time, I convinced myself that distancing was the best option, but now those same actions stand as sources of deep regret. I never imagined that I would miss you with such intensity, or that the absence would feel so sharp. Yet here I am, confronted by the reality that I do. This realization has become part of my growth, part of the understanding that responsibility, reflection, and honesty are essential to becoming better than who I was.